when there's been a couple of stories about Mitch McConnell over the past couple of days, and now, if I am not mistaken, you actually met your wife working on a campaign against Mitch McConnell. Is that right?
You are a smart man, Sammy. I'm impressed by the memory, and maybe that you remember we threw that little 40th birthday bash for me. God, I'm old. I think there were some trinkets up on the walls to remember that how we'd actually met, because it was funny. Yeah, we met in 2002 working against him, and it was a candidate who didn't really run very hard and didn't really have much of a chance. But by working on that race, besides obviously meeting my wife, which made it worth it in and of itself, I learned a lot about the guy, and it's great to finally see this happening, because it's been driving me crazy for a decade, because being on the ground there and seeing that, A, nobody liked him, even then, B, that he was very thin-skinned and vulnerable if an early attack was run against him to sort of bring him out of his hole. There are ways to beat this guy. He reminded me, I always used to compare him to sort of Jesse Helms, who would never, and not exactly in that way, but in the way that Helms would never have above around a 48% approval rating at best in North Carolina, but then he would find a way to tar and attack his opponent, and no one would ever start sort of an early campaign against him and hold him down. Step on the guy's neck when you've got him down, don't let him back up. And I'm seeing it now. I mean, obviously a lot of this are self-inflicted wounds, but man, is this a glorious thing to watch. I mean, essentially the guy spent the past 2 years...
Before you get into that, tell us, just for people who are not following this, I mean, there's two things that I want to make. Well, one, I want you to set the sort of the scene that's happening in Kentucky. And two, I want to tell people that we're not just talking about a single race here, a particular Senate race. This is going to have implications over the next 15 months in terms of what things get cut, whether it's sequester, whether or not President Obama has to cave again. I mean, the implications of this race go far beyond Kentucky. Let's just put it that way. We will get to that in a second, but just set the table for us, because I don't think people know what McConnell's situation is, and then we will play the sound that is sort of capping off this week for him.
Sure. I mean, in fact, I'm G-chatting this over to you right now. I wrote 2 major pieces on him for the Washington Monthly back in 2004. That sort of predicted what a McConnell era would be like, because back then, Bill Frist was the leader if he took over. That sort of he'd kind of, he's one of the guys who's responsible for bringing politics to where it is. You know what I mean? For taking traditions and trashing them, and has a polarizing personality. Most of the people on his own side of the aisle can't stand him, but really viciously sort of attacking the other side and not working with them, and on and on. And the reason why this has broader implications, in that piece I wrote in 2004, he went to one of these trade groups, for example. These are just examples. One of these trade groups, business trade groups, that was supporting McCain-Feingold, and threatened them that if they did, there would be retribution. There were a number of senators from, I think at the time, Susan Collins, even Sam Brownback, that were ready to sign on to McCain-Feingold, and he was at the Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee. He threatened them that if they did, they would get no money from him. He was the guy who sued in court to get McCain-Feingold overturned. This guy's whole career has been built on raising big gobs of corporate money, spreading it around to Senate races and House races, Republican races across the country, and just power for power's sake, basically extorting money from businesses. Obviously some of them happily give to him, but some of them don't even want to. But so he has created this huge power base that has benefited the entire party. That is his background. That is what he's done. That's what got him into leadership. It's not his good looks, believe it or not.
I'm shocked.
I'm sorry?
I'm shocked by that. It's not his good looks.
He is a handsome man. He is the best-looking turtle I've ever seen. You get to the race now, and the serious implications of this are, okay, so he supports the Secretary of State that was sort of his protege, a guy named Trey Grayson, more moderate Republican in 2010. Rand Paul runs as one of the early Tea Party nuts and beats the pants off of this guy in a primary. And Mitch, seeing the writing on the wall, immediately embraced Rand Paul, and supported him because he knew Rand Paul wanted to run for president, and so he supported him. And the sort of trade-off was, you support me for leader and support me in my race. Well, so part of that was he hired this guy Jesse Benton, to be his campaign manager, who had managed. He's been part of the Paul family. He's married into it, in addition, but has been part of their dealings forever. The guy ran Ron Paul's presidential campaign. He ran Rand's Senate campaign. He ran Ron Paul's PAC for a while. Who knows what else he's done for them? So that was supposed to head off a Tea Party challenge for McConnell. What's obviously happened, what happened to Dick Lugar in Indiana, and what's happened in these other places where these lunatics have gotten the nomination, Christine O'Donnell in Delaware and others. It didn't. What ended up happening was this Tea Party guy named Matt Bevin jumped in, and it's not just some crazy guy yelling at him, although he is a crazy guy in his opinions, but he's a guy that is relatively telegenic and has a lot of money from business, and has gone squarely at McConnell. So that whole plan to keep a Tea Party opponent out of the race failed. And the Democrats...
Now, hold on. Now, I want to stop us there, because not only did this plan fail, but now the fact that you've had this sort of, shotgun wedding between Mitch McConnell and Jesse Benton, who is the former Rand Paul family guy, who's his campaign chief. There is a tape out there now, and I don't know if you've heard this. Have you heard this tape?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
It's awesome. Well,
I want to play this because this is great. Now, this was recorded by a guy named Fusaro, Dennis Fusaro, who apparently was a stiffed campaign guy, a bitter campaign operative for the Pauls, right? And he was
nothing worse than a campaign operative spurned, my friend.
Indeed.
Because, oh man!
And so Fusaro was calling Jesse Benton, who he must have known from the Paul days, and ostensibly to talk about some type of inappropriate campaign finance violation that took place with Ron Paul's campaign deputy national campaign manager. So he's talking about this, but he gets another tidbit at the end of this, and this tape has been released. And this just goes to show the problem that Mitch McConnell has. Here is that tape right now.
Hey, Dennis, how are you?
Jesse, how you doing?
Pretty good. What's going on?
Hey, I was just calling you because I wanted to ask you a question. Did you know that Dimitri Kassari gave Kent Sorensen a $30,000 check from a non-campaign account to induce him to support the Ron Paul presidential campaign? In other words, he made an expenditure that was coordinated and not reported to advance the election of Ron Paul for president, and he was a deputy campaign manager. Did you know that?
I'd like to see that. You got proof, man. I don't know anything about that.
Oh, I got proof.
I'd like to see it.
Were you involved in that?
No. And I have fiduciary responsibility, so if you got proof of that, I'd like to take action.
If you're true about that, I'll show you the proof.
All right, I'd like to see it, man. That's very honest.
I'll be getting it.
All right, man. You know how to get a hold of me? Well, you got my number.
Cell phone.
Okay. Let me give you my address.
What, your email?
Yeah. Or you want to mail it, or you want to email it? What's easier for you?
I'll mail it to you.
All right. You ready?
Yep. Okay, I got it.
All right, then.
I appreciate
How's
it.
everything going? How's everything going with you?
It's going well, keeping busy, raising the family, minding the store, so to speak. But
are you still with that seminary?
I am.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. And I guess you're doing something else then.
I'm doing something else, man. I am, between you and me, I'm sort of holding my nose for 2 years because what we're doing here is going to be a big benefit to Rand in 16. So that's my long vision. So.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thanks.
All right, man.
See ya.
Mail that to me and don't be a stranger. Call me anytime.
Okay, we'll do it. Bye-bye.
So much for that being between you and me.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, is that still the thing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I was waiting because I was going to summarize all the trials and travails of McConnell in one big, but it's good to tell at this point because the Tea Party marriage, I'm going to keep talking through that beep.
Yeah,
it's not going to stop me.
I don't know what that beep is.
You're hearing that too, right? It's not just me?
No, I wouldn't worry about it. We're okay.
Okay, I'll kick its ass. It doesn't scare me. So, in any case, this whole deal has blown up in so many ways. First of all, they lose. First of all, they got a Tea Party opponent anyhow, who most of the Tea Party factions are supporting. It looks like Freedom Works, Dick Armey's group is going to support it. Club for Growth might get in. I love these guys now. But then Jesse Benton, it's not even just that. It's the subject of that phone call was, people may remember a state senator in Iowa switched his support from Michelle Bachmann to Ron Paul right before the Iowa primary. And it turns out that there were negotiations with this guy, and money may have changed hands, which is, by the way, illegal. It would be vote buying. And Jesse Benton was the guy that negotiated this. So this guy at some point could be indicted, quite frankly. So they hire this guy just to kiss the Paul family's butts and the Tea Party's butts. He may be in trouble financially, or with the law for what he did. And then, of course, he says, "I'm just holding my nose, working for McConnell, making obvious to everybody what we already know." And you know that if the Ohio, Kentucky Party, the Kentucky Democratic Party doesn't make videos of people holding their noses and just mocking McConnell forever about this, I don't know. They're not doing their job. So there's been a bad news cycle every little bit. They were just at this famous Kentucky picnic/political event known as Fancy Farm, which I went to back in 2002, and this church picnic that McConnell turned into this sort of battering session, another McConnell gift. And he was being slammed from the right by Bevin, the Tea Party guy. Alison Lundergan Grimes, you may have seen her introductory ad, which is phenomenal.
And we should say, she is the Democratic candidate.
I should. She's the Secretary of State. She won in 2010 with 60% of the vote. Won in a huge way. Her dad's a former chairman of the Kentucky Democratic Party and is very close with the Clintons, which is why you saw Bill Clinton also put out a video supporting her, and they're going to help raise a lot of money. So this is a serious. She's telegenic. Her ad is terrific. She ran a race in Kentucky where, as a Democrat, she won with over 60% of the vote. She's got the connections. So there's a lot of reasons for McConnell to be scared. This is all these things are happening the same week, and then polls come out for the first time in McConnell's career, and he ran for the Senate for the first time in 1984, mind you, where some people weren't alive yet who were listening to this program, I'm sure. And two polls showing that he's behind her. It's margin of error stuff, but he's losing, which was unthinkable in showing people how vulnerable he is.
Now,
and then she goes to Fancy Farm, the last thing all of a sudden gets up and has the best line there that gets reported throughout the state, which is a double entendre, sort of mocking Mitch, not just for the fact that what an obstructionist he is, but in a way taking a poke at him for his age, where basically she's like, he's such an obstructionist, if he had a kidney stone, he'd refuse to pass it, which was just awesome. And so the news cycles for McConnell for 2 weeks now have been terrible. Terrible.
Well, I want to talk about two things which could have national implications in this election. One is obviously that Mitch McConnell is the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, and he has, and like you said, he is a huge corporate shill, and so he is, at least I think dispositionally, not in terms of pragmatically, but dispositionally aligned with the corporate interests in the Republican Party. And so when it came time to sort of shut down the nut jobs and actually allow for some taxes to rise as opposed to all the taxes that could have risen at the beginning of this year, I guess it was. And instead of allowing the Senate to vote to go along with any notion of shutting down the government, he's been a guy who has cut deals. He no longer can afford to do that. I mean, isn't that the point here? Is that because he's flanked on the right, and he's desperately sending out emails about, prayer and stuff like that. But at the end of the day,
the prayer thing's hysterical. He's just kissing the ass of the right. Yeah.
But isn't his dilemma going to be that he's going to actually have to be more obstructionist to get through his primary, and then he's going to have to tack back to the left, relative to Kentucky. And so, but before he gets through that primary, he's got to be a lunatic, right, in the Senate. That's the implications for the rest of the country.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The implications for the country are two very big things, and these are why I've always made the argument, even back then, about why you have to go out after McConnell. McConnell is this dorky loser. He's obsessed with power. All right? This is the guy that's staying up until all hours of the night looking at, how 3 people voted in Paducah, Kentucky, or what he can do to undermine a bill, who he can buy off. This is his life, is creating misery for people. And he's had this sort of, this reputation of being unbeatable. He, in a lot of ways, I've worked against the NRA, it reminds me of them, which is they create this sort of myth that they can't be beaten. But once you sort of take off the false cover, you see that they're very vulnerable if it's done right and people are willing to invest the resources in doing it. So, you have a lot to gain here. If you knock this guy out of the Senate organizationally, the Republicans, you've got a civil war brewing between, the paleocon, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul wing, and the neocon Lindsey Graham, John McCain wing. But that's only going to get worse if McConnell is gone. Even though he's been weak lately, he's the closest thing they have to somebody who can organize people. Secondly, just during this election, if you keep him in Kentucky fighting for his life, he will not be in Washington, D.C. obstructing things. He can't be. He will have to actually spend time in a state that really isn't his home state, that he doesn't really spend any time in. And he will have to fight for his political life there, and that will weaken Republicans in Washington. Third, when you're talking about, all the business interest stuff, he's been as responsible, if not more than anyone else, for turning the Republicans into this party of just slush fund corporate money. And what he does during these elections in the past is he sits on this big war chest of people who give him legalized bribes, and he just shares it with everybody else, all the other vulnerable Republicans. Well, there are Republicans obviously who are challenging Democrats who can win in states like West Virginia and Montana, where Democrats have stepped down, or in states like Kay Hagan in North Carolina. He can give a ton of money to these guys if he doesn't have to spend it defending himself. Also in Georgia, where there's an open seat where the Democrats, especially with some of the nutbags that the Republicans might put up, with Michelle Nunn there, could pick up a seat. Or potentially in Maine, if the right person jumps in against Susan Collins. Potentially even in South Carolina, at the Republican Party there, they're doing the same thing to Lindsey Graham, and they're doing to McConnell, will blow themselves up. People forget that South Carolina is also no longer the South Carolina of old. I think Obama only lost it by 10 points and didn't even contest it. So, there are possibilities in these places. So I'm just saying, making McConnell spend his money on himself
right.
hugely helps the Democratic Party, and hugely helps, more important than the Democratic Party, what we all care about, a progressive agenda.
Right. And I keep thinking back about the sort of the difference here with Daschle. Daschle obviously was dealing with an attack on his right, as a Democrat Senate leader, and it was very problematic because it sort of like reined him in. In some ways, now that McConnell is fearing an attack on his right, it is actually going to sort of make him go to crazy town, and it's going
right.
to...
Well, he has to be more supportive of the nuts that want to shut down the government over Obamacare funding. and go to the crazy right. And this is where you had sent an article along about, and I think it was a very accurate article, and it doesn't just apply to Kentucky. It's one of the things you bang your head over all the time.
Yes.
I don't remember what year it was. It was a bad Democratic year, maybe in 2004, where the minimum wage got put on the ballot. I believe it was in Florida, and won with 75% of the vote.
Yep.
It is a hugely popular populist issue that Democrats can win white, middle class, and working class voters on. Just like the fact that Mitch McConnell has been at the forefront of cutting Social Security, and if Allison Lundgren Grimes would stand up and defend, and she's already defending Medicare, she did in her first ad, defend the minimum wage, which she did, and raising it, which she did in her first ad, but would come out also, I will increase Social Security, not cut it. These are populist issues where she could grab a chunk of elderly rural white voters away from McConnell.
Well, now this piece. This is the other aspect of it that has such national implications, because she is running on issues, the Medicare so far, in the raising of the minimum wage, and this is in a deeply red state, albeit Kentucky has more of a sort of a union-friendly, worker-friendly disposition and profile than a lot of other southern states.
And like a state, I'll add in, like a state like Montana or West Virginia, a very conservative state presidentially, and has become more so, I think, because of some of the racism factor with Obama. But the state that has shown it, but Kentucky, like those two other states I named, and there's others I'm probably not thinking of, has shown itself very willing to elect Democrats to statewide office. Right now, out of, I think, these 6 or is it 7 statewide positions in there, including the governor, the attorney general, only one of them is held by a Republican.
And that is
they are willing to elect Democrats to statewide office.
And that is, these are not Democrats that you and I would necessarily appreciate in terms of most of their values. Short of that is still a remnant of when Democrats were really about labor in many respects. And
yes.
and so to watch Lundgren Grimes push the minimum wage, and Atrios has been on this for years, just saying, like, even if you're a Democratic politician, and even if you don't want to see the minimum wage raised, and it's certainly not going to happen at a federal level at this juncture, why would you not run on this? It is a great issue. It's a great issue.
It's an issue, and the truth is that
politics.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sam. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's it. I mean, it's a great issue in terms of policy and politics. So why wouldn't you run on it? And if she does this in Kentucky and can win, or even come close, this is going to have, I think, really big implications in terms of what other Democrats do down the road. But you're right. I would love to see her, expand Social Security. To take him to town.
Right. I mean, look, Mark Begich is running on that right now in Alaska. Democrats can be reminded of things. Look, at this point, we know the deal. There's a strong Wall Street base among Democrats. We know this. And as much as I want them to stand up to that base, and when it's right, and it doesn't. But the minimum wage is an issue that has nothing to do with Wall Street.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's an issue that has to do with a lot of these types of companies that don't support Democrats anyhow. So as you said, politically, you don't lose anything. You gain the loyalty of all sorts of voters and all sorts of people. Again, 75%. I think it's pretty close to a majority of Republicans even support raising the minimum wage. Maybe it is a majority, because I know it's 90 whatever percent of Democrats, and it's probably 70-something, 80% of independents. There's just, so politically, and then obviously economically, and in terms of, morality of, not letting people die, because, of course, the Republicans are pro-life. It just makes sense on every level. It's, and I've argued the same thing for Social Security. Obviously, then you are taking on Wall Street, but you know what? Too bad. Adding to Social Security, I mean, these are some issues that are populist issues that you can run on as a Democrat, and for the most part, you're not going to anger people that you would have with you.
They're freebies. They're total freebies.
And they all just make sense.